just know that you are the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And just know that this is the Hitman, and you're watching Papa Pete.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
And we're live again tonight, back after, I think it's been last week I didn't do anything. It was the week before. I had a live stream of Battlestar Galactica, so it's been 3 weeks since we've had wrestling video games and retro adventures. And I played a couple extra intros at the beginning today because we're waiting on Jeff. He's delayed a little bit, but thought I'd pop on and start things off anyway. We're going to talk a little bit about the state of WWE and the upstart and the rise of AEW and how kind of amazing it's becoming. And there's so much news going on in the wrestling world right now. I had kind of lost interest and just sort of want to talk about why that's happened and what's going on in AEW that's sort of bringing that interest back. So Jeff will be along any moment now. But before I get going, I want to talk a little bit about the bumper that we play at the beginning with the Gamers United Guild. We're working on the bumper's pretty long. It's about 1 minute and 10 seconds because there's so many great channels involved with the Gamers United Guild, including GoGameGo. And of course, it's all started up and headlined by I got the Next Level Gaming, who Mike Mullis has started the whole thing. He's sort of like the coordinator and the leader of the group, and he does a great job with promotions, and we all try to promote each other. And so if you get a chance, visit the channels that are in that bumper at the very beginning. They're all great gaming channels, very positive. Part of the goal of being in this group is, or one of the criteria really, is that it has to be a positive channel, not a negative, that's just going for headlines or just going for drama. Nobody on that list is a drama channel by any stretch. It's just guys who like playing games, like talking about games, or whatever. Like in this case, like talking about old wrestling or new wrestling. And that's really what it's all about. So check them out. If you haven't checked them out, please do. Anyway, so WWE, there's been a lot of stuff go on the last little while. Man, I don't know. There's Christopher Westerman. Good to see you. Junebug's in the house, of course, and Lance Jennings. Lance is very familiar, I think, probably most of the channels in the guild. He's a great member of the chat room, as you can see. He's one of my mods. He's a mod in a lot of the channels because he's another really positive fella who is just great to have as a friend and as a member of your chat room to sort of not only participate, but to kind of, I'll say, police a little bit, because we don't need any extra stuff going on that we don't want to. And overall, I guess we really have it pretty good when you think about it. Anyway, back to wrestling a little bit. So there's been so much go on the last little while. I'll tell you my history with wrestling, really, and I've talked about this somewhat before, is I've loved wrestling since I was a little kid. I can remember in the 70s when I was like 6, 7 years old, it used to be on WABI Channel 5 in Bangor, Maine, which we got back at that time. Remember, I'm in Canada, but it's about 90 miles to drive to Bangor from here. But that's where we got our American stations from. ABC, NBC, and CBS. And Channel 5 always had WWF wrestling. Now, I remember it when Vince McMahon, the Vince McMahon we know nowadays, was the announcer. And yes, he announced for years into his ownership as well. But at this time, I believe he was just strictly the announcer. And he did a lot of it with, I believe, with Jesse the Body. But it's so early then, I really don't know who all was with him. To tell you the truth, I think Bruno Sammartino might have been with him quite a bit. That being said, those are the wrestlers I remember watching. The champion when I started watching wrestling was Bob Backlund. And he was like the whole time I was growing up pretty much. Because what was he champion? Something like 6 years until the Iron Sheik took it off him in like 83. So in 77, when Backlund would have won his championship, I think that's when it is, I would have been like 9. I really don't remember watching it much before that. Anyway, so I watched it right up through, and I love the characters in it. Like, I can remember Greg the Hammer Valentine coming in as a bad guy. I can remember Hulk Hogan coming in as a bad guy with, of course, the managers were incredible. You had for Hulk Hogan and Greg Valentine was Classy Freddie Blassie. But the one I remember the most, probably for managers at that time, was the Grand Wizard of Wrestling. And I think his name was Ernie Roth, without looking it up. But he was really an incredible guy. Remember, he's just a little fella, and he always wore freaking, like, he was a little Jewish guy from New York, and he wore a turban with the big jewel in the front of it, and the like shades that went right around, like before anybody ever did. They sort of became stylish later on. But he was just a weaselly little guy who ran around the ring. Just wouldn't have been 150 pounds, but just notorious in the business. And he was just really entertaining. He used to love the managers back in those days. So I always watched it up through those days. And we had our local wrestling, which was Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling, which, to be honest, was almost like the next door neighbor territory to WWF, because WWF actually came right from New York City right up through New England. Boston Garden was huge WWF, and right up to Bangor, Maine, frankly, because I actually went. My sister moved to Bangor when I was 6. She was 18 years older than me, and when I was 6 years old, she moved to Bangor, and I can still remember to this day going to the old Bangor Auditorium, building's torn down now, and seeing WWF wrestling. And I found the card one time on a website somewhere where it listed all kinds of old wrestling cards. And I can remember seeing, like, I think it was Ox Baker, but I definitely remember seeing Chief J Strongbow, and he had a tag partner. Who was the other guy? Obviously, he had a spoon or something like that. Oh my God. It was amazing. Like the old style wrestling. It was back in the day of like Tony Guerrera and guys like that. And I love that wrestling. I mean, as a little kid, probably 8 years old, it was cartoonish, whatever. And then, of course, like I said, Atlantic Grand Prix, which was up in here, next door neighbors to those territories. So a lot of people came from New York in the WWF and developed in Atlantic Grand Prix, which is actually just a summertime circuit. And it was run by a guy named Emile Dupre, who still lives in Shediac, New Brunswick to this day. And he's like 84, 86. He owned the Atlantic Grand Prix when Vince Sr. owned the other. So you would have, I can remember my father-in-law, who lives in Moncton, New Brunswick, which is one of the major cities up here, telling me being in bars when he was like at 20. And there beyond, he said, I turned around and I was looking at the guy's belt buckle. It was Andre the Giant standing beside him. It's like these guys toured because the owners of the territories would send them all over the place just to, they get money to bring them in because they make huge money for the local territory promoters. Anyway, another little story, which I think I've talked about before, and hopefully we do again. Hopefully we have a good show on Atlantic Grand Prix sometime. Just like I want to have a good show with Jeff, and he'll take on like the St. Louis Wrestling Club, I think it was called, the one that was owned by, can't remember one guy's name, but Harley Race was one of the co-owners. Anyway, it'd be great to have a talk all about that. But one of the most prominent things was in 1978. What's his name? Angelo Poffo was trying to get his sons broken into the business. So Vincent sent him up. Angelo decided it was a good place to go to. Up with Emile Dupre. He brought his 2 sons, Leaping Lanny Poffo and Randy Poffo, Randy Macho Man Savage. And they come up and feuded and toured for an entire summer up here all through Atlantic Canada. And they're just young, right? Like Randy had just finished his baseball career, hadn't gone anywhere, whatever. So he went into the business. I think Lanny was always going into the business. Lanny was the face, Randy was the heel. And I mean, those guys are just 2 incredibly gifted and charismatic wrestlers that really could play those roles. Leapin' Lanny, everybody loved him. He was amazing as a face. And I can remember years later sort of learning about that as in 85, 86, realizing that these were the 2 and sort of getting a little bit of the background of why they're around Atlantic Grand Prix. Leapin' Lanny was the star when he was here. Everybody hated the heel, but of course, know more about wrestling like I do now. Obviously, the heels, actually, it's more fun to be a heel. It takes, I will say, more talent to be a heel than a face. I don't know. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to be a face," but no, I think real wrestlers they want to be heels. And there weren't any better heels than Randy Macho Man Savage, I'll tell you right now. Anyway, up and through 85, 86, WrestleMania started. Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. And I loved it right up through. It was kind of hard to find on television here in Canada, especially after they went sort of national. You get the Saturday night's main events, but like primetime wrestling was their big Monday show long before Raw existed, and I think Raw came in '93, right? It was only available on the USA Network. You couldn't get it in Canada at all. I can remember we had here in St. Stephen in Canada, the guy who owned the cable company actually sort of pirated Canadian channels. So if you had cable, which was just limited to in town, I lived out in the country, so I'd go to a friend's house and we could watch primetime wrestling on Monday nights. That was when Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan hosted it. And that was the matches were secondary almost to the entertainment that those two put on, the skits and the banter and the interviews and such like that. The matches themselves, I can remember, they used to be over 2 hours. And it was just, it was jobbers. It was jobber versus face. They'd build one guy up, and then they had their Steve Lombardis and their Barry Horowitzes and their Iron Mike Sharps to take the losses. And they show matches from all around the country. It was never a live show. It was just different matches put together. And then Gorilla and the Brain would be in the studio, sort of not narrating the matches themselves. So they'd have announcers for the matches, but filling it in between. And they're entertaining as hell. You can still find some of those. I don't know if there's any on the WWE Network or Peacock in the States, but I know you can find some stuff online, torrent sites, or maybe even YouTube of the old primetime wrestling with the Brain and Gorilla Monsoon. And if you love wrestling, man, check it out. Let me tell you. Let's check a couple of the comments here. We got the great Lance. Okay, I had to go to the right screen so I can put it up on here too. Sort of got off on a tangent and right off track. So the Grand Wizard has been forgotten. That's right. A plan was to have Roddy Piper as his replacement. Vince said Piper was too small to headline, which is Vince's mentality. Roddy managed Paul Orndorff, David Schultz, and Big John Studd. Well, Piper obviously wasn't too small in my mind. He's actually would be almost a heavyweight compared to some of the ones they have today. But that was his mentality back then. It was all big men for Vince Jr. Vince Sr. too, I suppose, really, because I mean, none of the guys back in those days were small. It wasn't a matter of high flying; it was grappling in the ring. But Roddy Piper as a manager, absolutely, he would have been an amazing manager because he had the super gift of gab. People loved him. Oh my God, the stuff that he came out with. But at the end of the day, I don't think you could bottle him into that role because he was just too controversial and confrontational to be a good manager. Because I'm sorry, if you get into somebody's face, you get into Jimmy Hart's face, Jimmy Hart cowers. You get into the Slick's face, the Slick cowers behind the wrestler. Roddy Piper wasn't going to cower behind any other wrestler. He was going to meet it face to face with fists flying. So in that regard, he never was going to be a manager per se. I don't know. We'll never get the chance to find out now. He was a sidekick in some matches. He accompanied people to the ring in kind of that role, but I don't see that he ever would have. He had the gift of gab, but he just didn't have the mentality or the complacency to be a manager in my mind. He was just too aggressive. Anyway, wow. Theological. Okay, Heenan and Monsoon were fantastic. No doubt about it. They were incredible. Bobby the Brain Heenan was an artist as far as pissing people off, man. He was just weasel, 100%. Don't know what happened or why. He was just so good at it. He was a wrestler back in the day. He was just a mid card, wrestled a little bit. He still did once in the Blue Moon. Look at WrestleMania 4, right? But I mean, he was past his prime at that point. But his gift was being that manager and upsetting the crowd and getting the crowd worked up because, you could have somebody like, who was it? Was it him and the Islanders? No, him and, I can't remember who it was when they fought the Red Rooster and whoever, the Red Rooster and the Bulldogs versus him and the Islanders or something like that. And I mean, that was like, okay, great. They're going to steal the dog. But it was Bobby the Brain all the way. That was the lightning rod for the heat. And he would just drive crowds into a frenzy. It was absolutely amazing. It's so much fun to watch. And we really miss him. I got to say, one of the best, I think a lot of people consider this to be true, one of the absolute best WrestleManias of all time in my mind, and for personal reasons too, because I got a little bit of a story behind when we went to watch it. It was WrestleMania X7, WrestleMania 17, and it was the one where they had the gimmick battle royal. And who was it? Did they bring Mean Gene and Bobby the Brain down? They brought Bobby the Brain in as one of the commentators for that. Anyway, he had been sick. He had cancer, and that's ultimately what he passed from. And it was sad to see him go the way he did, but it was great for that. Then shortly thereafter, I think they put him in the Hall of Fame, and he had that wonderful speech where he said about how much he missed Gorilla Monsoon because you watch prime time back in those days, you would have swore that they hated each other. Although Gito would just sit there and basically make fun of the Brain and work him up into a froth, and Heenan would just go nuts. And they're like brothers almost. I swear they were like brothers. That's talent. That's talent for entertainment. And it's not all bumps and body slams. It's the charisma to be able to do things like that too, and take the story where you want it. And it's whether it's through managing and bringing things up like that, or like the guy in my bumper at the beginning, Bret Hart, right? Tell a story with the wrestler, with the moves themselves throughout a match, like the swings, the pivots, the what's the word I'm looking for? The technological wrestling skills, or just the bumps and grinds. Because all of a sudden Bret Hart starts wailing fists on somebody, you automatically know he's pissed because that's not Bret, right? So. Is Bobby Heenan the best manager in wrestling history? Some have argued Jim Cornette or Jimmy Hart. Well, that is a good one. And I'm going to tell you this. I don't think that you could really qualify. Look, Chris's vote right here. It's got to be Bobby Heenan. And I'm not going to argue with you, Christopher. If you're going to sit there and tell me and explain to me why Bobby Heenan is the best, I'm probably going to agree with you. But if somebody sat here and told me that Jim Cornette was the best, there'd be different facets that would make him the best to me. Jim Cornette, I think, was a better wrestling mind. Like, I know it's a show, okay? But Jim Cornette was more involved in the backstage aspects of wrestling as well. He really understood the heat. He understood how to bring heat, how to put things together. What is it? It's the Dark Side of the Ring about the screw job, which Vince Russo and Jim Cornette. Dark Side of the Ring in general has had Jim Cornette on it a lot. And I will say this, as a naive person who just watches it, Bobby Heenan head and shoulders above it. But I've learned a lot about Jim Cornette, his passion and his knowledge about the wrestling business, specifically watching that show, Dark Side of the Ring. And I've gained a lot of respect. Hey, RBK, good to see you, bud. Thanks for stopping over. I guess you guys finished up. I stopped in for a few minutes at you guys' stream. I was listening away there, getting ready. But I was tied up. I had some company there before we started. But thanks for stopping. I appreciate it. So back to Jim Cornette. It's different. And I'm going to say the same thing about Jimmy Hart. I don't know what it is about Jimmy Hart. He just had a different air about him. He was a real guy you didn't trust and wanted to hate and stuff like that. But he had some sort of different, he seemed to have an exceptional ability to get the most out of wrestlers in the show they're presenting. Like, he's friends with a lot of the wrestlers. Yes, he's friends with Hulk Hogan. I know he's friends with Brutus, but he did great for the Harts. I'm sorry, I love Bret Hart. He's my favorite. And I love the Anvil too. At the time, I hated the Hart Foundation in 86, 87. But it was Jimmy Hart that brought them to the forefront of where they were. He was the mouth. He was capable of doing that. And that was his job, is to just make them known, because they weren't talkers. They learned, and Bret got better all the time. So did the Anvil got better all the time, but they're very different people. But he did a phenomenal job at that. He did a phenomenal job with bringing up the Honky Tonk Man, until the Honky Tonk Man really gained the confidence and took over. Greg the Hammer Valentine was never a great talker. He had different managers throughout his career because he was such a brute and a great technical and forceful wrestler. But his manager really did it for him, and Jimmy Hart was in there for a while, and so with the Hammer. One that I really like is Johnny Valiant. Johnny Valiant. I liked him. He was pretty good. He wasn't around a whole lot. He did the Dream Team, and that was about it. Then he had Bravo and stuff, and Frenchie Martin come in. He wasn't around real long. Certainly not as long as Jimmy or whatever like that. But anyway, they were just different. So I'm not going to give you an answer on that. I'm going to say that if you've got your favorite, you're probably right. I could not argue against you. But Jim Cornette, fantastic. Different strengths, different weaknesses. Bobby the Brain, same thing. Nobody could get more pure hatred than friggin' Bobby the Brain Heated. What he did with Andre the Giant, what he did with King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd. And then when they turned on each other, that was great too, because everybody wanted to see Heenan get his comeuppance, right? And Heenan could take a bump too, right? He really did. Look at the Red Rooster. I mean, he could take a bump. And then you look at Jimmy Hart, longevity too, and talent with writing too. Jimmy Hart actually did a lot of he worked a lot with, I can't remember the guy's name. It's something I think it's Jimmy Johnson or Johnny Johnson or something like that, who written a lot of the theme songs for the wrestlers. And Jimmy Hart actually has a credit in a lot of those as well. So I don't know, all different, and I love them all. I would put all three of those a step above a Slick, a step above Fuji. Elizabeth, I don't even mention. Elizabeth was a specialist. She just had one role. She wasn't a manager. She just was like she had a role, I'll say. But who else were managers? Sherry Martel was actually a pretty good manager. She could get involved. Of course, she's tough as friggin' nails, right? Women's champion for years. She was great, and she could bring the heat too. So don't underestimate someone like her. What she did for not only the Macho King at the time, but really it was actually, which one was first? Yeah, I think she did the Macho King first, and then HBK, right? I'm quite sure that's the way it worked. But she was better with HBK than the Macho King, in my opinion, too. But very underestimated in my mind. Who are some other great managers? Oliver Humperdinck, who did Bam Bam Bigelow. Modern day managers. What do you got? Sonny. That's not modern day exactly. That's 27 years ago. All the valets, no, not the valets. And you don't have managers. I think that's missing because some of these wrestlers aren't all that good of speakers. But, of course, I'm missing one, and one of the very best ones. And one of the reasons that really WWE could keep going on is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman does a fantastic job, whether it's with Brock Lesnar. Sorry, Brock's not a talker, but you can't friggin' deny Brock, right? But also what he's doing for Roman Reigns. Not a Roman Reigns fan. I'm going to tell you, I think he's part of the demise, part of the downfall of WWE right now, because you're not going to get a bigger fan than what I was. I don't hate them now, but I just don't care if I watch it. So, yeah, I don't know. Those are the back of the era. We sort of worked our way up through the 80s and stuff, which is when I really loved it. Through the 90s, I loved it as well. I went through a stage, back in, ask poor Mama C, for Pete's sake. I'd watch Raw on Monday night, and then I'd watch Nitro on Tuesday night, and then I'd watch Thunder on Wednesday night, and then I'd watch SmackDown on Thursday night, and I went friggin' years without missing Raw. If I couldn't watch it for whatever reason, I'd friggin' tape it, and I'd watch it. Literally at that time, tape it. There's no PVR, so I ever get a PVR, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing to be able to watch on PVR. Now I can go on the WWE network, which I still have here in Canada. It's not Peacock here, but I can go on there and I can watch any Raw that I want to. And it's kind of neat to be able to do that because I like going back to the old ones. Anyway, so I really did still love it up through the 90s. I will say Atlantic Grand Prix was still going on up into the 90s. It lasted quite a while on TV in the summers. And I can remember you used to be able to get 1 hour of Raw, 1 hour of Nitro, and 1 hour of Atlantic Grand Prix on Saturday afternoons on CTV here in Canada. That was what we saw it on. And it was kind of before the evolution of the sports networks and stuff up here. And shortly thereafter, it went to TSN, which is before it joined ESPN, which ESPN now owns TSN, which is one of the main sports networks in Canada. And it always had, it picked up Raw shortly thereafter. It had been on CTV. CTV was affiliated with TSN, blah, 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 blah. But they showed it at 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was on live in the States, and then it was on at 1 o'clock in the morning here. And I can still remember, like, if one of the infamous episodes was, I just saw it, Dark Side of the Ring, the Brian Pillman episode that started off this season, where Stone Cold breaks into the house and Pillman's got the gun. I sat right here. I was in this room. Of course, the room was all different. None of this was here. Little friggin' CRT TV and cable. I probably had a satellite dish at that time. And the 1 hour show was like watching this friggin', it was amazing to see him break in. And he pulls a gun on him. I was like, and you saw how controversial it was. You saw how controversial it was if you've watched that show on Dark Side of the Ring, which I recommend you do if you like wrestling at all. You'll just like, how do I put it? I put it, if you don't like wrestling, you'll love Dark Side of the Ring. And if you do love wrestling, it'll be just like crack when you take it. It's amazing. Just an amazing show. RBK here. IRS is one of my favorites. He's in a couple Sega games I have. Yeah, right on. Erwin R. Shyster. That's so cool. Eh? Like Mike Rotundo. He was... Oh, what was the name of the team? They were in the original WrestleMania. Him and Barry Windham fought the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov for the belts with Freddie Blassie. Yeah, because Freddie Blassie threw the cane in order like that, and the Sheik and Volkov won. It was something else, really. Oh, here it is right here. Oh, you know what? I skipped right over him, Captain Lou Albano. Didn't know much about him, to tell you the truth. He was kind of gone before I get into it too much. I do vaguely remember him in the 70s. Seems to me he was still wrestling kind of as a bad guy then. But as I picked it up, like I said, those were the years through the beginning of WrestleMania when he was with Cyndi Lauper. So of course you see him now. And I remember WrestleMania 2, he was with the Bulldogs? Maybe it was WrestleMania 3, he was with the Bulldogs, I'm thinking of. The one they had, it was with Jake, no, it was with the Bulldogs. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Lou Albano was a great character. Absolutely fantastic. But I still wouldn't put him in the category of Bobby Heenan or Jimmy Hart or Jim Cornette. Classy Freddie Blassie, I would probably put him up in that category. And to tell you the truth, I'd put the Grand Wizard up in that category too, even though the vast majority of people have never seen him. Yeah. Another interesting piece. I'm not sure, RBK, if you're aware or not, but IRS, Mike Rotunda, is the father of the recently released for the WWE. One of the things that started this whole conversation yesterday, we decided to talk about kind of like, are we watching the downfall of WWE when they released Bray Wyatt? IRS is Bray Wyatt's father. And King Corbin, is that the other one? King Corbin is his other son. There's two sons of Rotunda were in the WWE till recently. I think King Corbin's still there. Is it? Somebody in the chat, if you remember the other son, I think it's King Corbin or Barry. What the place is his name? I'll look it up, I guess, but I don't want to really take the time to do it. Let's see. No, it's Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt is by far and away Bo Dallas. But who did Bo Dallas become, though? I guess he just went by Bo Dallas, so I'm getting them mixed up. It's not King Corbin at all. Yeah, but it's kind of neat, eh? It's like you get watching these things, and especially if you get a chance, like I said, Dark Side of the Ring again. I talk about it a lot because it is so phenomenal. I've watched wrestling my whole life. I love wrestling and the things that I learned, but there's an incredible number of hey, it's CC Mental. Right on. Where's your partner in crime? I'm waiting for him here. I'm not doing too bad talking, though, just gabbing away about old wrestling. But let's see. Like Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham when they were the U.S. Express, the song Real America. You told me that before, that the song Real America was made for them, but it ended up being taken over by Hulk Hogan. I mean, they took the belts off them at WrestleMania 1, and they never really became a significant team again. It seems to me they just sort of left. And Wyndham came back 2 or 3 times under different gimmicks, and Rotundo come back with IRS, which stuck. Of course, he stuck because they put him with friggin' the $1 Million Man. It doesn't get better than that. Ted DiBiase was fantastic as well. I really did like him. GoGameGo is on his way. Wait for the pop. Yep. So, yeah, it's fantastic. So, anyway, so right up through the 80s, through the 90s, I never missed it in the 90s. I went through a stage from until about 2010, somewhere in a file or on a videotape or whatever, I have every pay-per-view that was ever made by WWE. I had them all, every single one. And it was around when the Blaze, I'd say it was not long after 2010. It just sort of started, I won't say to get away from me. That's not the right way to put it. I just sort of thought, I'm not enjoying this as much. I mean, I'm sorry, when I was watching up through the Screwjob era, I was a Bret Hart fan. I was pissed. I was watching it all, wanting certain things to happen that just never did. Like WCW screwed that up so bad. I can remember watching the last Nitro, for example. I've got the videotape where I taped it, and then I had to change the channel to get the last half of Raw, right? Because it wasn't. I've got that on tape somewhere. I've digitized it even. I've got I don't even know where it is, but I digitized that, copied the VHS over onto something that's on my computer, which is tucked away somewhere. Imagine that. I can't find it. I have no idea where it is. Hey, Chrono Prime. Good to see you, man. When the Monday Night Wars ended, wrestling died. Yeah, because I won't say it died. I say it didn't die then, but a few things happened all at once that sort of really hurt. And the number one was, I won't say the number one. I'll say one thing that happened was Stone Cold Steve Austin's body started to give out on him. He couldn't do the things he used to do. They had to put him in different roles to get him on TV. He wasn't able to take the bumps like he used to. Whether part of that's the Owen Hart missed pile driver or not, I'm sure that was. I've heard Stone Cold talk about that with Brett on Broken Skull Sessions, and it was no blame to Owen. It was just one of those things that happened. And then you have, here we go. Then you have The Rock. The Rock come up. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Pete, how's it going?
Good, man. The Rock came up, and then he started making movies, and he got big, and he got pulled away. So all of a sudden, you've lost 2 of your prime guys away. And then, to top it all off, John Cena did pick up the reins a little bit right there, and he was really good. But then, the thing that I thought hurt them the most right around the 2001, 2002, was the major botch job they did with the WCW invasion. They could have done so much with that storyline, and they just totally, they pushed all the WCW guys to the background and just made it a battle between groups of WWE guys. And it was the worst thing they could possibly have done. By the time they ended up bringing in some of the top-notch WCW guys, it was done. It was over. And it was just pathetic. I was right friggin' into it. And it was like, and I don't know. It just took the wind out of my sails. And I watched it for years after that, but it just never was the same as it was before that, frankly. I've just gone on about wrestling for 20 minutes, Jeff. So I haven't really gotten too much of the downfall, but we're talking about right now about how wrestling was never the same after the Monday Night Wars ended. And I said, I think it was okay. But I think WWE has done a lot to hurt themselves since that time, but never as much as they have in the last year.
We were talking about this last night with Chuck after the show, and this reminds me of when the St. Louis Blues, the owner before the ones they have now, he was getting ready to sell.
Yep.
And he got rid of Chris Pronger. He got rid of all the big name stars on the team. I mean, he just killed the team. He just gutted it. And his reason was he wanted the new owner to come in. He thought he'd have a better chance of selling it if the new owner had less salary to pay.
Okay.
And I guess that's one way of looking at it. But another way is like, you've just handed him a piece of crap team.
Yeah.
He's got to spend the money on. And that's what I was wondering is McMahon doing the same thing? Is he? like liquidating and getting ready to sell? You think?
You mentioned that last night, and I hadn't really thought about it a whole lot, but there's a lawful. That's a pretty sound theory.
I can't think why he's getting rid of so many, big name guys.
I mean, just not signing them. Who does he have left right now? Like Reigns, Cena, and what's Cena gonna? I mean, I'm sure there's more. But, huh?
You think John Cena's going to do much, or do you think he's just here for like a month or so?
I think he's here for a month or so to do the SummerSlam and have a big show and big payday, and then go back and do some other things again. He's done it for 20 years. He's,
Oh yeah, Chrono Prime mentioned Randy Orton's still there.
Randy Orton's still there. Yeah, Randy Orton. A lot of history there.
It's amazing. I forget how old I am sometimes because I'm like, yeah, that's Bob Orton's son. But I mean, Randy Orton's been around for a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can remember going to the first time I saw Randy Orton wrestle was again at the Bangor Auditorium. We went down. I think it was 2004. 2004, I think we went down there and watched the match. It was really good. It was him, and I wish I could remember his name. Against the Undertaker and Dudley, not Devon, Bubba Ray Dudley. No, what the hell was it? It was something weird like that. Anyway, it was really weird. But it was when Randy Orton come up, he was all clean cut, crew cut, like none of the tattoos stuff. He was just a kid, right? He had just gotten booted out of the army, and that's what they brought him in. He was with an Italian guy who was also supposed to be a big up and comer who ended up not going far. They started off as a tag team.
Did you watch the Steve Austin show with Randy Orton?
I have watched a bit of it, but not very much.
Yeah, he mentioned it was funny. Like when he was younger, he really didn't have interest in wrestling. Like he didn't want to be a wrestler, and then I don't know. Somehow he caught the bug for it, and he went into it, and everywhere he went, he goes, they would say, "Oh, you're Bob's son. You're Bob's son," and everyone would treat him like like royal to this. Immediately loved Randy Orton because he was Bob Orton's son, and they would take care of him. And I guess he finally was like, this isn't too bad.
Well,
he realized he had it pretty good because apparently his
take
father
this
was
with
quite
a slight
popular.
grain of salt because I'm probably missing something in the story. Okay, but he got a dishonorable. He was in the service. And he got a dishonorable discharge at a very young age for doing something really stupid. And it was right then that they took him. He was going to prison, and they took him and they brought him into the wrestling world. That's when he first get into wrestling, and they sort of to control him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It seems to me he did something awfully stupid to get a dishonorable discharge. And I'm not sure exactly what it was.
Well, he would turn his life around then because
yes,
he went from almost going to jail to, I guess he'll be a Hall of Famer at some point.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, how many championships has he won?
Is his dad in the WWE Hall of Fame? I know he didn't. He wrestled there towards the end of his career.
I would say that he's probably one of these people that are in it from like 1988 or 1992 or something where it was sort of unofficial, official, but they didn't have the big pomp and circumstance like they do nowadays every year at WrestleMania. So I believe that he would be, but I'm not 100% certain.
I like that because he's still around too.
Yes. Yeah. I think he's still basically at all the events and stuff too, like the events like when the legends are all there. Bob Orton Jr. is there.
Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2005.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, I can't find that thing about who his partner was. It was a long Italian name anyway, and that's who he teamed with always when he come up out of, I believe it was OVW at that point, the Ohio Valley Wrestling. That was their sort of farm league.
Hey, Lance asked if they're cutting back on NXT as well, and apparently they are. I think they've gotten rid of some people from there too.
Significant numbers.
I don't understand that because if that's like the the minor league system for WWE, why are they getting rid of those guys? Why don't they bring them up and it'll cost them less money? Because they're not big stars yet. You think they would just maybe dump the stars from WWE, bring up NXT, and kind of go cheap for a little bit? If that's what their plan is, to lower cost.
I'm still trying to figure out who the Blazes' first tag team partner was, because that's going to bug me.
I did see not Randy Orton.
Yeah,
Bob
I found
Orton.
it.
Oh,
His
who was
first
it?
tag team partner was Rico Constantino.
Man,
That's a
I've
good
never
Italian
heard of
name.
That's a good Italian name.
Yeah, Rico Constantino, and that's who I saw him with in Bangor as tag team partner. Oh, gotta get Coco down there. Danger pay every time I lift her.
My kids love when I put your video on and Coco's in the basket. It takes the whole basket. It's just funny. It's
she's gotten like, it's all started off with the youngest one. I had this little basket here one day, and the youngest one was burrowing and everything. And I had this little basket. It was just a kitten. It got in this basket, and eventually it got older, too big for the little basket. So I got this bigger basket. It was the Quill, the little black and white one that would get it all the time. And one day, Coco, who's like 12, decided, hey, that looks interesting, but I can't get up on the desk. So I had to pick her up, put her in the basket. And now she comes in the room when I'm sitting here. She's been there for an hour, so she's ready to move around a little bit. But she comes in and goes, climb inside my chair until I pick her up, put her in the basket. She just, every time I come in here now, she wants to get in the basket. So
she likes that basket.
That's right. Chrono Prime says Vince ruins the NXT guys. I gotta kind of agree, because he doesn't have any respect for the. I don't know. That's not fair to say. I don't know that, but it doesn't look like he does.
Hey, is Karrion Kross in the WWE now, or is he still in NXT?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
But he seems like a guy that would fit into the WWE.
Yeah. Yep. List of NXT releases. How about type that and see how many they've released in the NXT? I don't even know a lot of them. August 7th, WWE releases 13 NXT stars. How many do they have? Wow.
13? I guess that's
just on August 7th.
I guess that's some women as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh. What's this one? Oh, list of releases this year is what I found. It says all 54 WWE wrestlers released in 2021. 54 wrestlers.
We're only in August. There's still
All
plenty
right,
of time to go to.
Lars Sullivan. I don't remember him. Well, yeah, I picture him. Okay, why don't I share this? And we'll take a quick look down through the list. How's that sound?
Chrono Prime said that Karrion Kross is in the WWE, and he lost his first match to Jeff Hardy. Why would they have him lose his first match?
God. I heard that somewhere. I think I enjoy watching a channel called What Culture Wrestling.
I watch that.
I enjoy that. I think those guys are great. And one thing they talked about the releases, they said they brought Karrion Kross up and he loses to Jeff Hardy right off the get-go. Talk about bury a guy. Not that Jeff Hardy's a slouch.
Yeah, but Karrion Kross,
put him in that position. He
has that look that he could be a huge star. Yeah, so why have him lose his first match? That seems weird.
If you're going to do something big with a person, you don't do that.
Oh, apparently he's in NXT as well. So some of the wrestlers go back and forth between. Oh, yeah, they do, don't they?
Yep.
I guess until they finally get there's Braun Strowman.
So hold it. So you're getting cats, are you?
Oh, I don't know. Boys, they want to get like 2 cats. I'm not sure how Perry's going to do with that.
Yeah, really. Well, if you get a cat that's sort of docile, doesn't mind the dog, it's
just
fine.
dog sat for about a week, and
so there's. Oh, did you?
Perry was okay after the first couple of days, but
there's Lars Sullivan. Do you remember him? I vaguely remember him. Released in January. Then the Big Show again. Where's the Big Show now?
Yep, I was just watching him on AEW. I was just watching him.
Steve Cutler. I don't recall him, but he'd been there for 7 years. Andrade.
Ask for his release.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if they're not doing anything with him, right? Billy Kay, I remember her. Oh, Peyton Royce. She was around quite a bit. She wrestled up in WWE. Samoa Joe.
Oh, you know what? I was watching Samoa Joe I forgot what he was in before that. I can't remember if it was like Ring of Honor or
He was in TNA. He was big in TNA. Impact Wrestling.
I was watching him fight a guy, and it was if Samoa Joe lost, he had to quit wrestling. Was the deal? Yeah, it was a great match, and it was the first time I saw him. This is a while back. And I was like, I really like this guy. He just, I don't know, there's something about him. He's not exactly, Hulk Hogan over here with his body, but it was just fun watching him wrestle, and so I'm glad he's at NXT.
Aside from The Rock, he's the shape of all Samoans, right?
It's a good point. Yeah, the Wild Samoans weren't known for their physique either.
No. Or Umaga or Rikishi. I believe Samoa Joe. I don't know if he's in that family or not. I really don't. The Inouye family. I don't think he is, but there's some sort of affiliation there that you wouldn't realize. Callisto. I remember hearing about him. Mickey James, of course. Who?
I'm going to see on the NWA on August 28th.
Right on. And we're going to get a good report out of that one, right?
Yep.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's a pay-per-view, but we're going to the live event. It's because it's here in town. And it's an all-woman pay-per-view, which I believe is the first ever for any wrestling group.
That's pretty cool. And she's great, too.
What's Flair gonna do with AEW, you think?
Get on there and talk. I don't know. It's like people just want to see Ric Flair, right?
They just want to
His presence means a lot. Tucker, I don't.
Tucker.
Bo Dallas. All right. There's Mike. We were talking about Mike Rotunda earlier. RBK was saying he liked IRS, and then I told Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas are IRS's kids, right? So they released Dallas back in April.
Wasn't the other? I heard that when I left the room to come in here. Wasn't the other wrestler he's related to? Was it Barry Windham?
Well, Barry Windham, I don't think he was Blackjack Mulligan's son. Barry Windham. They're all friggin' related, eh?
I mean, that's amazing how wrestling is really a family affair, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing. Oh, what's that? Yeah, I got Chrono Prime, Ric Flair's going to AEW and all that. And, of course, CM Punk this Friday. Let the cat out of the bag, but, yeah, he's coming over. Daniel Bryan later on. And I think that Vince isn't trying to create any competition. I don't think he's trying to create anything. I think he just doesn't even see them as competition. I really don't think he does.
So AEW is going to be on Friday. What channel are they on?
I can't tell you. Here it's on TSN, but the Friday shows, aren't they? Are there pay-per-views on Friday?
Oh, is that out there? Maybe Chrono Prime knows.
Yeah, if you know Chrono Prime, put it in there. What show is it on Friday that they're on? Mojo Rawley. He was doing quite well for a while. He was there for damn near 10 years. He was there 9 years. Wow. Released. Wesley Blake. I don't know him very well.
Chrono Prime says TBS or TNT. I think it might be TNT.
Okay, yeah.
Because I downloaded that app for a reason. I think that was the
They
reason.
have their Chrono Prime. Can you tell me, do they have their pay-per-views? It's not on Sunday nights, though, right? When they have one, it's a Saturday night, right? I'm not. Then their big show though of the week, like their version of Raw, is what the hell is it called? Dynamite? Is that Wednesday nights? Directly opposite of GoGameGo.
It could be because there's a reason why I don't watch it. I think that's the reason.
Jessamine Duke. It's all women, I suppose. Vanessa Bourne. Wonder if she's related to Doink the Clown, Matt Bourne.
That's Doink the Clown's daughter.
Well, Skylar Story, I should say, formerly property of WWE Performance Center. Ezra Judge, I remember hearing that name. I don't remember. I've not watched much NXT, frankly. Alexander Wolf. I mean, Velveteen Dream. I remember hearing about him.
Velveteen.
Wow.
For some reason, the TNT app, I don't think I can watch AEW live.
Oh, really?
And I think it's several days where we can watch it again. That drives me crazy.
Wow. Braun Strowman. That was the first one that really shocked everybody, wasn't it, when they released him?
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Lana. Oh, I didn't even realize they released her way back then. She was always big with Rusev, right?
Chrono Prime mentioned SummerSlam this weekend. Are you going to watch that, Pete? The pay-per-view on
I probably will. Because I like the Big Four. Tend to watch the Big Four at least, if nothing else. Like, even though I'm not watching the other stuff as much. Hey, Caper Dave, good to see you, man. Just noticed in the chat there. Oh, why did that? Oh, the Big Pop. Okay, just got here. Friday AEW show is only on TSN's online stream as of yesterday. Okay, thanks for letting me know so I can watch it. But I got to go to TSN online, TSN Go, they still call it, or the TSN app I have on my phone. I can watch it there. TSA in the USA, yeah, right on. Or TNT in the USA, right on. Thanks, Caper Dave. Yeah, there's a Lance clarifying right there. Chrono Prime, yeah. Yes, Dynamite is Wednesday nights. SummerSlam. Oh,
TNT. Yeah. Okay.
SummerSlam is on Saturday this year?
Interesting.
I know you meant SummerSlam. That's really strange. I've never seen WWE have a pay-per-view on a Saturday. Other than the 2-night WrestleMania.
Yeah. Everything's crazy over there right now, Pete.
What's that?
I said everything's crazy over there in the WWE.
Oh,
right
it's
now.
just, what is it? They're going under, and they're going under. Ruby Riott. Well, honestly, God, like that's fairly well. She had a lot of, play. Fandango, same thing. Tyler Breeze. These are just all gone this year. Tony Nese. Rhea Daivari. August Gray. Getting there. Those are the guys, last couple that were these two that were with oh shoot.
Are they brothers?
Yeah, I think so. They were with he was champion. He was champion for a while. He's Canadian, actually. Yeah, we were just talking about that too, Caper Dave. That was the theory that he's trimming it down and going to sell her.
Well, so there's a good question.
Hey, Luke.
Pete. Hey, Luke's here. Would wrestling fans be better off with McMahon selling the WWE to one of the other groups that's already established?
He'll never do it, in my opinion. He'll never sell it to one of the other groups. They're not big enough. They'd never be able to afford. It's not even the on-screen presence, the TV and the wrestling itself. It's the things that he owns. The rights to all the wrestling that's ever been done and all the territories and WCW, and he owns it all. ECW, WCW, all the different little territories down around the South. He owns it all. That's more expensive than the wrestling business itself, I think. And for TNA, well, they certainly can. But AEW is not in a position to do that. The only people that are in a position to do that is somebody like NBC or Peacock. They could buy it outright. And maybe that's all part of the deal of going to Peacock this year, getting rid of the challenge.
You need somebody in charge running it that knows what the heck they're doing.
And it isn't going to be in friggin' NBC.
I think
That's
the
the
thought
problem.
of winning like
Is
that.
it takes a wrestling person to run it. Then maybe they're going to sell it cheap.
Yeah. Well, the thought of a corporation taking
That's the
over
most serious one right there.
and running it through like a board or something sounds terrible. Hopefully, they do sell. They'll have one person, a wrestling person, in charge.
And they may, but
Well, I was watching AEW a little bit earlier, and they have. I like their announcers. The WWE, I just don't like their announcers anymore.
agreed.
But they have
Totally.
Jim Ross, right?
Jim Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my friggin' stuff just started to update. It's gotten quirky on me here. My Adobe.
They have him, and they have Tony Schiavone from like the 80s.
Yeah. He was from WCW. He did WWF in the 90s as well, but then he really made his name in WCW.
I kept looking at him. I was like, oh my God, is that Tony Schiavone from 30 plus years ago? I didn't know he was still doing stuff.
And this is a big story right here. We got Rick up on the screen. Charlotte Flair may join her boyfriend Andrade and father in AEW. It's crazy. Tony Khan has an open checkbook like Bischoff had in the late 90s. But does he really, though? Who's the financial backer for this open checkbook? Like, Ted Turner had money. They're not that rich at AEW. I think they're going to be somewhat more responsible than WCW was, I would hope. And they certainly don't seem to be doing this, having problems like WCW was overrun with ego, where nobody wanted to lose. I should take that down. I can't see Jeff. Nobody wanted to lose, right? It was terrible, WCW. I'm hoping.
That's so odd because when you listen to, when you watch Steve Austin's podcast, all the wrestlers talk about it, the same thing. They all know that you have to lose. You have to get somebody over and turned, and you'll get the same treatment down the line. So they all know the business. They know this is what we have to lose at some point because we're going to win again, and you're going to go back and forth. I mean,
right.
I mean, how many times have some of these people been world champions? 8, 9, 10 plus times. It's just.
And can I say this? Can I say this? This is something I've thought about for a long time over the last few years. One of the reasons I don't want to watch the friggin' pay-per-views for WWE anymore is I'm sick and tired of Roman Reigns never losing. People hate him. He was a face. They put the belt on him. People hated him. They turned him heel. People love Paul Heyman, but people still hate Reigns. He's the downfall. He's the downfall of that company, Roman Reigns. Because I don't know what he's got on him. But.
Like you got to lose at some point, otherwise it gets kind of boring. He's not Andre the Giant. I mean, it's not like he's someone who can't lose.
So Tony Khan, dad owns the Jaguars, so that's where the money's coming from. Yeah.
Wait a minute, Khan. He's from this area because there was rumors that he was going to buy the Rams for a while and keep them in St. Louis, and then he went and he bought the Jaguars. I didn't know that's who owned AEW.
That's pretty cool.
So wait, the father owns AEW or his son owns AEW?
Well, the son, I think, like the father probably owns it for the son to run. But at the same time, I want to get back to this point. I'm happy with the money. Okay, if you got money, throw money at these guys, bring them in. But you can't have the egos. And that's what you got to keep in check. And I think Chris Jericho's is he not kind of at the forefront, sort of controlling who's what? Do we have one dominant person in AEW? We do not, do we? I watched Chris Jericho. Yeah, he wins a lot, but he's got a good friggin' head on his shoulders.
I was impressed. I was impressed with that interview with Steve Austin. He was talking because he knows the business. He knows what has to be done.
Yeah.
He was really impressive because, I mean, I've never been I don't dislike him. I've just never been a big fan. But when I watched that interview, I was like, man, he really knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
When it comes to wrestling, he's one smart dude.
Yes. Yeah. I was always a fan because I was a big, I always rooted for the Canadians back, whatever the situation was back in the late 90s and stuff, because there were so damn many of them with like Test and Edge and Christian and Jericho and Benoit and Val Venus is Canadian and Lance Storm. And then they had the whole Canadian contingency there and WCW for a while, Team Canada and all this stuff. It was fun. I like that stuff. So I always followed Chris Jericho. And he's got some good books out too, Lionheart and such. So I really like him. And I think that you brought in Eric Bischoff to run, and he brought in like Hulk Hogan, who wouldn't lose, Kevin Nash, who wouldn't lose. And I've just recorded that Broken Skull session with Kevin Nash. I'm sort of interested to see his place, because he was one of these ones that wouldn't lose, Jeff. Right? And then you have Goldberg. And
man, there's a lot of wrestlers that just hate Goldberg.
Yeah.
Because he was on Austin's show and he seemed to like him, but man, they've had other people on there just do not like him at all.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah, so Shahid Khan is the co-owner of AEW. And Chrono Prime was right. This guy's loaded, man. He's got more money than Vince McMahon.
Wow.
So I guess if they wanted to, they could buy up everybody. That's so interesting because, he was a big deal here in St. Louis for a while because I think he's from Illinois, or he lives in Illinois. He's not from Illinois. But yeah, he was rumored to people here are hoping he'd buy the Rams and keep him here, but
Cody Rhodes has been involved right from the beginning. Has Cody Rhodes been involved prior to Jericho even? Now that you mentioned his name, I'm not sure, but I also believe that Cody Rhodes is probably a very sound wrestling mind too. He's been brought up through the business and actually has a point of view as a wrestler and a promoter. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're right. Because people. The people in wrestling, they love Dusty Rhodes. I hear people, even like Sasha Banks, she worked with Rhodes towards the end there, I guess, and she was just going on and on about what a great guy he was. He had all these. Apparently, he was really good at being able to figure people out and what they should do. She said that he really helped her with her career.
Look at this.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I can't stand Reigns. He's got that smug look on his face, and he's always just so serious. Like,
yeah. And he's from a great wrestling family, though, too. He's from the Anoys and the Maivias, right?
I told you that one pay-per-view I was watching when he beat one of his cousins. What's her names? Can't think of their names. Jimmy Uso.
Yes, Jimmy and Jay Uso.
Yeah, he beat one of them this pay-per-view, and as he's walking away, he's going down the ramp. The Wild Samoans are there to greet him. They look like they're about 80 years old. They're
Alpha and Sika.
The third one was nowhere to be seen, but I don't think the third one was actually part of their family, was he?
I'm really not sure. I don't remember.
Because he seemed to just come in late, and I don't remember him being around that long.
Chrono Prime, that's how I remember it too. Now, I've forgotten about Cody when I was talking about Jericho, but I believe that's 100% correct. That's the way I remember too. Cody Rhodes was like right there off the get-go. He was the first kind of guy to get involved at all. And from the immediate wrestling business. And Jericho jumped on board right afterwards. But Cody Rhodes, if you think about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, whatever it was, that Cody Rhodes was in WWE still, Got to be almost through this list. It's just an amazing list of people that they've released. That's it. That's all of them. I'm going to unshare that. Bring us back up here. Cody Rhodes, not a big guy, did all these weird different gimmicks, sort of like CM Punk. He reminds me a lot of CM Punk. By their medium build guys, great athletes, but friggin' could work a crowd, whether as a good guy or whether as a bad guy. They knew how to get under people's skin or make them love them if that was what they needed to do. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, those are the best wrestlers, the ones that get a reaction from the crowd. That's what you want.
Yeah. Just masterful at it, Cody Rhodes was. Even when he did that stupid friggin' Stardust gimmick, it was kind of entertaining, you know? But he's gone. Everybody else is gone. Like, they just all gone. So, man, who are the stars? And I do like the ladies wrestling, the women's wrestling in WWE right now. But I don't like Rhea Ripley. I do like Charlotte Flair.
Wait, didn't Flair just beat Ripley?
Yes.
For the title?
But is like, was it Chrono Prime or somebody mentioned earlier? You're not in the room. The cackle doesn't count. But how now? Rick's left. Her boyfriend's left, and now I just know I've read, and I haven't read enough. I haven't followed it closely enough. At one time, I never would have been away from that. I would have known exactly what was going on, to be quite honest. But she's almost like on the outs, or she's gone off to visit somebody like her father, her boyfriend, whatever. And like they're really worried she's leaving. I don't know if she's under contract or what. I don't know if she still got the belt. I don't know.
Charlotte Flair. How many belts are there now in like the WWE? I'm so confused. Everyone seems to be a champion.
Stupid number of belts.
Because Bianca Belair is a champion, I think, and Charlotte Flair is also a champion.
I'm not a Bianca Belair fan either, frankly, just because I don't know.
No, Bianca Belair is one with the big long hair that like can whip people.
There it is. I swear. You look at her hair, okay, which she uses the whip, right? And there's different things there hauling on at her. She was hanging from it or whatever. But I swear, like, there's always like 2 or 3 spots in the middle of it that are great big barrettes are around or tape or whatever. And I swear it's just extensions and stuff they just attach in there, so it isn't actually pulling on her hair when they do all that stuff.
I think she's got a bungee cord in there.
That's probably it.
She's the one that whipped Sasha Banks on, was it WrestleMania?
Yeah, and the friggin' had the Foley artist there going, swaps.
But it left that huge welt on her back. Like she really did hit her.
Yeah. Crazy.
But speaking of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, they were supposed to be in SummerSlam this weekend, but they said now it's kind of up in the air. They don't know if they're wrestling. They don't know why. That seems like a big match not to have.
Yeah. So this is the current champions in WWE. WWE Championship is Bobby Lashley. The Raw Women's Championship is Nikki Ash. Defeated Charlotte Flair on Raw in her Money in the Bank cash-in match. Okay? So that's why Charlotte Flair doesn't have it anymore.
Oh, then I'm behind. Wait, was that the superhero girl?
Nikki Ash? I don't. As a picture of her here, I don't think so. No.
Who's the superhero girl? Because she just won Money in the Bank.
That's Nikki Ash right there.
I think that's her, but she has a superhero gimmick now.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. She's is there a name like Nikki ASH? Not
yes.
Ash
A.S. H.
But she wears a mask and a cape, and she goes by almost a superhero.
Oh, okay, there you go. Nikki
Yeah.
almost superhero
She changed her gimmick.
in mid-championship run. Okay. It's the Hurricane.
I will
Although
say
I
this.
like the Hurricane.
I will say that, you know, she looked ridiculous with that on, but I do love the cartoony type personalities.
I do too.
I was just watching this AEW show, and some guy, I didn't know who he was, Pretty Peter something or Pretty Paul something. I can't remember his name, but he had a guy when he was coming in. He had a guy pulling a rope, and then this guy was like on a pallet, just kind of like laying there, like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
Here how's that? He's lying. He's just lying there. This guy is pulling him as he's coming in, and I'm like, I mean, it's as stupid as can be, but I just like that kind of stuff. I'm like, it's something. It's some kind of personality.
That's funny. I like that too.
That's what Roman Reigns is missing.
Personality? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he needs something.
Man,
He needs a gimmick. He needs to lose first of all.
here's a guy who's been around a long time. United States Championship, Sheamus. And the Raw Tag Team Championships are AJ Styles and Omos, who we saw win at WrestleMania.
Oh, it's that really tall guy, right?
Yes, that's right. Then on SmackDown, you have the Universal Championship, which is Roman Reigns. Oh, God.
Do they still have the Intercontinental Championship?
And he's had the Universal Championship since August 30th, 2020. Then you have the SmackDown Women's Championship, which is Bianca Belair, and then it's the Intercontinental Championship, which they still have on SmackDown. And it's King Nakamura, who I really like. Shinsuke is what's it? Shoot, what do you go by? What's his real name? Shinsuke.
Something like that, yeah. But he
Shinsuke
won the
Nakamura. I like his music.
the King thing, right?
And then the tag team champions are the Usos. NXT champion is Karrion Kross still, according to this.
I don't think he's ever lost there. That's why it was so. I find it so shocking when you told me that, or Chrono Prime mentioned he lost his first time out. Like, what?
Crazy.
What's the point? If he's supposed to be this great wrestler, never loses in NXT, you don't have him come lose his first match.
They've got 6 championships in NXT. It's seven champion. The NXT championships, Karrion Kross. The NXT Women's Champion is Raquel Gonzalez. NXT North American Championship, Isaiah Swerve Scott. NXT Tag Team Champions are MSK, Nash Carter, and Wes Lee. Then the Women's Tag Team Champions are Io Shirai, and Zoe Stark. And last but not least, the $1 Million Championship, which Ted DiBiase is bringing back, right? You talked about that a few weeks ago.
They just brought that back. I think that was the first time it's come back since Ted DiBiase, right?
And LA Knight has that. And Ted DiBiase reintroduced the championship on the June 8th, 2021 episode of NXT.
That was fun, bringing back an old guy like that. I like that.
I like anytime they bring people back like that, frankly. So what's this? Shared titles. Oh, shared title. Oh, my God, there's still more. 24/7 championship is Reggie, which I guess you would say be the old hardcore championship. NXT Cruiserweight Championship, and then there's a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship, Natalya and Tamina.
Wait a minute, a cruiserweight? When do they have weight divisions in pro wrestling?
Well, they've had cruiserweight titles in lots of different, but it's
really, I don't remember hearing about that.
So in all, and plus there's the NXT UK. There's 4 championships over there. So in total, I'm going to try to count them. I don't know if I can count them that high. I haven't got my shoes on, so I should be able to get to 20 anyway.
Wait a minute. Who's the guy? There's a champion in NXT, and I think he's British or he's Irish. I can't remember. He goes by one name. I cannot think of it.
There are 21 different championships in the WWE right now.
I'm not sure if they have 21 wrestlers anymore. They've gotten rid of so many.
Jeez.
Just make everyone a champion.
Crazy.
Yeah, Crown Prime said it was so much better when they had the world title and the Intercontinental and tag team.
You are not kidding, man. You are not kidding. Yeah, they meant so much. Exactly.
Here in St. Louis, for Wrestling at the Chase, we had the Missouri State Championship. I don't know if every state did that or not, but it was a big deal here because Ted DiBiase was he was a champion of the Missouri State Championship for a while. But this is back when he was like a rookie. I mean, we're talking early 80s, late 70s. I can't remember when he came up, and Ken Patera was a Missouri State champion.
Yep.
I watched some old wrestling match with Ken Patera in the WWF, and he was just like fat. I never saw him like that. It had to be towards the end of his career. He was not in good shape at all, which is kind of strange because that was his whole thing. He was a huge bodybuilder and big time wrestler. And wait, was he an Olympic weightlifter or Olympic wrestler? I can't remember. Participation belts. That's about right.
Yeah, I always say that nowadays. I'm saying it all the time. It's like people are everybody seems so entitled in this world nowadays. I said we're really working our way into the participation medal generation. No matter what they did, they got kudos like it was the best thing in the world. So whether in real life, it's like, well, everything I do is right, isn't it? It always was. But anyway, that's for a different time. The participation medal generation.
Lance asked, does the modern WWE have jobbers like the old days?
Yes, the NXT champion jobs for Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, that's about it. But the AEW does, because they have people that show up. And you know what I love about the AEW? When they announce the wrestler, at the bottom it says what the record is in the AEW.
Really? I've not noticed that. Like, I haven't watched it enough.
It's awesome because you can see who the jobbers are. Someone come in, they're 0-9. It's like, okay, I know they're going to lose. They're here to lose. So AEW still does that. But
I don't remember any wrestling organization ever putting the record up. I can remember them talking about like Tatanka going undefeated forever and Goldberg going undefeated forever. But I've never seen them go, hey, he's 0-17 or
no, I've never seen that before, but I really like it.
That's an interesting twist. I could see it.
Yeah. And it's just our AEW record, of course. But I thought that was a neat idea. There is a guy in the AEW. I don't know if you've seen him. His name is Enfuego. And his record is something like 2-11 or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes out. Everybody loves this guy. He's a little guy with a mask. He runs around, flips around. He's really athletic. He gives it his all. And then someone just like kicks him in the face and he just drops to the ground because he's just a little guy and he loses almost all the time. But apparently, I guess he was just like a jobber. He didn't even have a contract with them. He just would wrestle. I guess they just paid him by the match. And he just got signed to an AEW contract.
That's awesome.
And he was all excited because it was his lifelong dream. And it was pretty neat. But, yeah, he's such a small guy. I mean, the guy can wrestle. He's such a great athlete. But when you put him up against a big guy, it doesn't take much to knock the little guy out.
I went down in 2003. You're talking about these no names per se. I went down in 2003 in May. It was the weekend at the Raw. I saw Raw and SmackDown. So Monday and Tuesday night, and they filmed Heat and Superstars and everything. They filmed them the 2 nights, right? In Halifax, Nova Scotia. And for some opening matches that weren't on anything, they bring in some of the local guys, and they might fight like a mid-carder, right? But they bring in some of the local guys from the local, like there's 3 or 4 different circuits at that time. And people at the friggin' crowd love it, right? They give them some heat. They give them some offense. It's not a squash, right? The mid-carder, they're always going to win. but it just gives them a bit of a time to show what they can do and stuff. And I'm telling you, there's something to be said for that. Like, every match doesn't have to be the two best guys who supposedly you don't need to win. There's nothing wrong with a jobber match now and again. That's my opinion.
And some of these in AEW, the jobbers, some of them they'll get a win or two. They're not all just nothing but losers. You know, they do occasionally win. There's Perry.
Perry,
you missed the last show we did Wednesday. Poor Perry.
Where was Perry?
But speaking of guys like that, here in St. Louis on Wrestling at the Chase, there was a guy every week, Max Blue. He'd come out. He would just get his ass handed to him every week. He'd always have that moment of about 30 seconds where, like, this is it. He's like beating the guy up, and the other guy's kind of reeling. And you're like, all right, he's about to lose now. And that was always a sign of him getting ready to lose. Hey, Christopher Ludloff, look at that.
Oh. Hey, Christopher, welcome back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Wrestling at the Chase, Christopher. Absolutely. We got lots to talk about that.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it myself, but I'm learning lots all the time.
I'm in St. Louis, Christopher. So, I grew up watching Wrestling at the Chase. And we mentioned earlier, there are 4 new matches at the Chase Park Plaza at the end of August.
4 events. Yeah.
4 events. Yeah. I'm sorry, not matches, events. And I'm going to the first one. So I finally, after Wrestling at the Chase went off the air like in 83, 84. So you're talking close to 40 years ago. And I'm finally get a chance to go to Wrestling at the Chase. So I am really excited about that.
So how old were you? Okay, I should know because I was the same age. So it ended when you were around like 15, 16.
Yeah, I think 83 may have been the last year for local stuff.
Yeah.
And then like in 84, the announcer, Larry Matisic, he did all the matches that I remember. Early on, it was Joe Garagiola. With the Chase. That was back in the 50s and 60s, but for the 70s and 80s, it was Larry Matisic. And they did switch announcers briefly, and it just tanked. But like in 84, Larry Matisic would come on, and he would announce the matchups, but he didn't do the announcing because it was a WWF feed. And so it was like Vince McMahon doing it, but it was through Wrestling at the Chase. It was very strange.
Huh.
It was, I guess that was a point where NWA was really kind of on the
fading. Yeah.
And WWF was taking over. SD Jones. Oh, man. Special delivery.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what. And once in a while, you know what was most interesting? When you throw something like Jim Powers versus Coco Beware or something. 2 guys that didn't win very often when they were battling, like, I don't know, Jake the Snake. But when you put them against each other, you just didn't know who was going to win, right?
Sure.
That was entertaining.
Was Coco Beware, was he in Texas with the Von Erichs?
Oh, I think some, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I remember him.
Because the Snake was. We were talking earlier about all being the family. And before you come on, I was quoting back to Dark Side of the Ring a ton about how much I've learned from it and how a family affair it was. And about Jake the Snake, the Jake the Snake show, which I think was the last one they aired. That should be coming back on in a few weeks. How his brothers was friggin' Sam Houston and his sister was Rockin' Robin. It's like, holy shit, I didn't know that. And but Coco Beware, I think, in the same area. Sorry.
Apparently, they kept it quiet that they were all related for some reason, which is
odd
because
wrestling
is such. But I mean, he had such a messed up life, though. I mean, his dad.
Grizzly Smith really screwed them up, man.
Phew.
Right. Their father really screwed them up. So, there's Lance right there. Lance is the man with the know-how right there. Coco Beware was in Memphis, but I think he did go around that area a lot, though. He was. I don't know, say in beyond the mat, there's Jake the Snake in this high school gym, and the only other one I recognize, or old place, the only other one I recognize is Coco Beware. So,
yeah, Coco Beware was interesting because he wasn't a big star.
No,
He didn't win a lot, but he wasn't one of those stiffs that lost, every time either.
that's right.
He was a real kind of middling wrestler there.
He was very marketable.
He had that bird.
Yeah, very marketable. Yeah.
Here you go. Chris just said he was born in St. Louis and just left 2 weeks ago. Moved to Austin.
Oh, wow.
Go Birds, yeah. Cardinals are making a resurgence here. 4.5 out of the wild card.
Yes, sir. There you go.
After being pretty much dead.
And the Red Sox just got Chris Sale back, so we're hoping that he's back to form a little bit. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? The Red Sox and the Cardinals in the World Series this year.
I'll take it.
We'd have to have our we couldn't delay the show. We'd have to have the show right in the middle of the World Series and do baseball talk some night.
If Cardinals in the World Series, I think, GoGameGo on Wednesdays is coming to a halt. If that's I can't miss a World Series.
There you go. There you go.
Have you ever been to a World Series game, Pete?
Oh, no, because, I'm nowhere near one, right? I've only been to a dozen baseball games in my life. Most of them were in Montreal.
I was at one World Series game in 1980. Wait a minute. 87.
Okay, yep. Kansas City, right?
No, Twins.
Oh, Twins, okay.
Kansas City is 85. And in 87, it was me and my dad, and it was like 40 degrees out. It was terrible.
Oh.
And I had strep throat, and I just wanted to die. But I was like, this could have been my only chance to go to a World Series game. I was like, I don't care. I'm going. If I die there, fine, but I'm going to this World Series game.
There you go. Wow.
And I'm glad I went because I've never been to another one. And considering the pricing of World Series tickets, I doubt I'll ever be at
it's
another
insane now. Like it was probably affordable back then. It was expensive, but affordable.
It was expensive, but it was within reason. I mean,
yes, not within reason anymore.
It's only like $1,500. Well, that's not. I mean, I'm not paying that for a baseball game. Well, especially
I'd rather
now,
buy a copy. If I had $1,500 to blow on a World Series game, I'll watch the game at home and buy myself a copy of Spiker.
There you go.
Guaranteed, man. The Spiker will sit in the shelf forever. The baseball game is going to be over at midnight.
You think about like in the 80s, I mean, we all had crappy TVs. I mean, there were squares. They weren't the best. Everything was kind of fuzzy. But now it's like, you got a 65-inch high-def TV. I can sit and have whatever I want to eat and drink. I don't have to go stand in line to go to the bathroom. I mean, it's awesome. Oh, he was at Game 6. Oh, my gosh. Christopher, that's amazing.
Nice.
I have watched Game 6 so many times. Sometimes I'll just put on the game from the ninth inning on just to watch it because it's unbelievable. I don't know. Did you see that Game 6 by any chance against the Rangers?
I didn't.
Cardinals were they were down 3-2 in the World Series.
Yeah,
they were at home, and they were down 3 runs in the 8th inning, and Craig hit a home run to make it 2 runs, and that's when in the 9th inning Pujols got a double. Berkman, I think they walked Berkman. And it got down to freeze. There was 2 outs. It was like a 1-2 count. So they're down to their final strike. And Freeze hits one to right field. No, Nelson Cruz was playing right field. Not the best fielder of all. And when he hit it, I saw him going back, and he started to slow up. I was like, oh, God. Because, I knew he was going to catch it. But then the ball went over his head, and he just missed it. Like, what the hell? It's like he would have been running the whole time. He would have caught it, but it bounced off the wall. Freeze got a triple, 2-run score, tied the game. But then the next inning, Josh Hamilton hit a 2-run homer for the Rangers.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, son of a bitch, man! It was such a great comeback. But then the Cardinals came back again with 2 strikes, or 2 outs, 2 strikes, and Lance Berkman tied the game with a base hit. So 2 innings back-to-back, 9th and 10th, they were down by 2 runs with 2 outs and 2 strikes, and they tied the game. And that's when the 11th inning, David Freese led off, hit a home run to win the game. And David Freese is from St. Louis. He was grew up here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody was going crazy. I mean, that was like, I would say for a Cardinals fan, that might be the greatest game of all time because
wow,
twice they should have lost, and twice they came back.
I'm still very impressed with your recollection of that entire thing. Well described. I can say it.
I've watched it so many times. It's unbelievable. Because the first part of the game was just weird. Like Freese had an error. There was a pop-up, and he missed the ball, and it hit him in the head. I'm like, and then Matt Holliday got picked off of third base. I've never seen a player get picked off third base before, ever. And then he hurt his pinky finger, and he came out of the game. I was like, it's game 6. You're coming out of the game. And then the guy who replaced him, Craig, hit the home run that got him within 2 runs. And then Holliday couldn't play game 7 either because of the pinky finger. I'm like, your pinky finger? It doesn't. How does that affect your bat? I don't know. It was just weird, but yeah, I actually I've got that one game 6 on Blu-ray. And what's cool is when you watch it, you can choose the audio. You can choose Fox National. You can choose KMOX for the Cardinals, or you can choose the Rangers radio broadcast.
Which I don't watch very often.
What's that?
Or sometimes you just put it on the Rangers broadcast just to hear
I did watch it with the Rangers broadcasters just to hear their pain. And they were so excited because they knew they had it won in the 9th inning, and then they were so down. But then when Hamilton hit that home run again, they'll get up by 2 runs, they were all excited again. And one of the announcers said something like, well, he said something like, well, maybe we shouldn't be too excited yet. You know, just like you never know what's going to happen. But it is funny to listen to both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. My wife said, I remember me bitching about that pinky finger. I was on Facebook then. I was bitching up a storm like nonstop because the Cardinals were blowing this game. I'm like, damn it. You're home and you're just going to blow this game. But then it ended up being like the greatest game ever. And
greatest game just because of a lot. But that's the thing about baseball, right? Compared to a lot of other games. Some games can get out of hand, but no matter what, as long as there's a strike left, anything can still happen.
And Freese, being a hometown boy, there's a David Freese Day coming up, I think this weekend.
Oh, wow.
He was a good ball player. He wasn't a great ball player, but he was a good ball player. He's not like he's a Hall of Fame player or anything. He was better than average, but for the rest of his life in St. Louis, he is just a legend here. I mean, he is beloved. I can't wait till he comes out because he's going to get like the longest ovation ever because people just love David Freese, St. Louis kid who pretty much single-handedly won game 6 for us, with the tie and then the home run. I can't imagine a greater day a major leaguer's ever had in his own hometown. It's just crazy.
Your complaining was memorable, obviously.
So frustrating. I was like, come on, a pinky finger. Game 7. Can you imagine a hockey player coming out of a game with a pinky finger injury?
No. But baseball and basketball, yeah. Basketball even more so.
Chrono Prime, when the Cardinals traded Gary Templeton for Ozzie Smith, I was upset because Gary Templeton was a great player at the time. He had all kind of range. He was a great fielder. He could hit for average. I mean, he could hit for 300. He hit, there was a year he got 200 hits and he had 100 hits from each side of the plate. He was a heck of a player. Ozzie Smith was a good fielder. At the time, I think he was a little bit better than Templeton fielding, but he couldn't hit a lick. And so I was like, this is the stupidest trade. But then Ozzie Smith comes over and he's the greatest fielding shortstop I've ever seen in my life. and he ended up being a pretty good hitter. And then Gary Templeton blew out his knee, and he was never the same in San Diego.
I remember Templeton doing that 100 from each side of the plate, which was I don't know if anybody else has even done it since. But he was the first one to do that, wasn't he?
Something like that. I mean, it was crazy. It was a big thing.
200 hits is pretty impressive, but to have 100 from each side of the plate, yeah, that's crazy.
Unfortunately for Templeton, there was an incident on the field. He did some obscene gesture to a fan, and Whitey Herzog actually came out of the dugout, grabbed him by the collar, and just yanked him in.
Oh, really?
That was it for Templeton. I mean, he was traded that winter.
I could see Whitey Herzog doing that too.
But I listened to Gary Templeton's side of the story, and I tell you what, I kind of believe him over what happened. And so I feel bad for him because he was a great player here. And the rest of his career, whenever he come back, everyone here would just boo him. And I always felt bad for him because I don't think he really deserved it. I mean, he shouldn't have did what he did, but yeah, if what he said these other people were saying to him had really happened, then I get it. Yep, Ozzie Smith in the Hall of Fame. What's GGH? Yeah, oh, that's right, Christopher. You're in Ranger Nation now. Yeah, be sure to talk about Game 6 while you're living there. They'll love you for it. That's the other thing I did on YouTube, Pete, is I'd watch Ranger fans' reaction from like the next game.
You're just glorified, just wallowing in their tears, are you? Nice.
Oh yeah, I'm not the big. My wife, yeah, I'm not the biggest Keith Kachuk fan.
Yeah, you've told me that story before.
He played here at the end of his career, and I was like, oh, he was a great player at one point.
Yeah,
he was not a great player with the Blues though.
His yeah. So what do you think? Are we seeing the fall of the WWE overall? Do you think it's going to get that bad?
I think we are, and I think it's a self-inflicted wound.
I do too. I think it's been going on for a long time too.
I mean, if McMahon's not getting ready to sell, then I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a billionaire after all. I mean, how?
Yeah. He's 75. How long does he want to do that? Like, he can do whatever he wants to do right now for the rest of his life. Why would he want to sit in that building? And I've driven around that building because when we get down to too many games on the way back, 64-bit and I pulled in and we drove all around WWE headquarters. It's so weird because you see the pictures online or whatever like that, or in the commercials and stuff, and it looks like it's sort of all in this big open area. It's not. It's right in this little community with like streets with houses all surrounding it. You're right beside it, looking up at it like this, straight up, right? It's so weird. But anyway, we drove and did circle all around. Hey, who are we going to see? Nobody. But it's just a big glass building with the flags and stuff on it. But why would you want to go sit in that place or go do that at 75 years old? I know it's your life. I know it's all you've ever done. And you are, for all intents and purposes, probably the most masterful person in history in that business. And, you got to give him credit. He is.
I mean, I know he's made a lot of mistakes over the years, but there's plenty of wrestlers that say that he really helped them out with whether it was an idea for their own career or whatever. Yep. I mean, wrestling was probably the biggest under McMahon. I can't. I mean, it was popular in the 70s and 80s growing up, but it was nothing. I mean, it was more of a niche type thing. I mean, it wasn't mainstream. Put it that way.
Yeah.
A lot of people liked wrestling, but you didn't really talk about it.
No.
Wrestling.
No, you're right. It's mainstream. If you're all like wrestling, okay. Well, what do you mean you like wrestling? What are you? That's fake, It's like, hello. Do you like going to the theater and seeing A Streetcar Named Desire? That's fake, Like,
that's not real.
Yeah. I saw Cats the other day. That's fake, It's like, yeah, I like wrestling. It's fake, you know. It's like, well, duh, you know.
Chrono Prime said that he doesn't think Shane is with WWE anymore. And that's what I was just wondering. I mean, this has been a family business going back to, was it McMahon's grandfather? Yeah, I didn't know what you meant by GGH. I didn't realize it was a typo, to be honest.
And I didn't realize the typo either, so now I'm pointing out the typo with the typo.
So was Vince McMahon's grandfather the one that started in wrestling?
Yeah, I think it was, but his father was sort of more well known, Vincent J. McMahon.
It's one of those things where it's like you kind of think they just keep it in the family forever, but unless his kids don't want any part of it anymore, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, they've been a big part of it.
Stephanie and Triple H still do, but I don't think they're able. I don't think they're capable of friggin' running it like Vince did. I just don't. I don't know. Don't know why, but I just don't have faith in them.
Well,
and I think they've been in control long enough now to see that they aren't making it any better. They did okay dealing with COVID. The Thunderdome was a good idea to keep it going.
Yeah, it's only been getting worse.
But
WWE.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. It's not kept my interest in 10 years. And this Roman Reigns fixation on Roman Reigns, you'd think it would fade after a while. It's worse than John Cena ever dreamed of being. As far as they had a fixation with John Cena, they had a fixation with Hulk Hogan. But Hulk Hogan was champion for 3 years. Yes, Hulk called the shots. He'd come back. He'd win. He'd do this. He'd do that. He'd win. But he also brought wrestling like from the back alley to the friggin' mainstream USA.
Yeah, Hogan is the wrestler who did that. I mean,
Steve Austin, The Rock, Mick Foley, they were at a different level than anything we see now. John Cena did a decent job. He was good, but he won and lost a little bit. Won a little bit too much. People hated John Cena too because he won too much. But Roman Reigns, that's the ultimate nail in the coffin for me. I just don't enjoy it anymore because it's not just to turn him off.
I mean, Vince seems to have he's always seemed to. I mean, he didn't get this big for not having a knack of knowing what to do. So, why do you think he's doing this with Roman Reigns? It just doesn't make any sense because he's not winning any fans with this.
Losing big time.
Yeah.
I mean, let's watch WrestleMania. Great. You watch. Oh, here's the main event. Oh, Roman Reigns. Okay, well, I'd go to bed early tonight. Click. And that happens a lot.
I don't get it. I don't get what they're doing with that story.
But he's got no charisma, and nobody I don't know. People hated him as a face, and they might even hate him a little bit less as a heel. But at the end of the day, I can't even tell you what he sounds like. Like, I can't hear his voice in my mind because he's just sort of always been there.
Well, his promos are so boring. Listen to him talk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, where's Macho Man? Where's Ric Flair at?
I can hear Roddy Piper. Yeah, I mean, those guys they're good guys. They're great for the business. And I think that Roman Reigns has been the final nail in the coffin because they just rode that pony until it was friggin'
I think they need to let the wrestlers loose again and just let them do what they want to do like they used to.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You hear some of these wrestlers, even from like the 90s, talk about how they just did what they wanted to do. Like they would say what they wanted to say. And, if Vince had a problem with it, he let them know, but they weren't controlling every single movement they did or every promo they did.
But now it's all about being that G-rated show for the kids, and the kids aren't putting any. I mean, they're not doing financially well, I don't believe.
I don't understand that push. Why they went with that? What?
I don't know. I bet they get tired of fighting.
Yeah, like with a no blood rule.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need blood all the time. Like, I'm not going to sit there and start watching. I can't remember what it was called. Nick Gage every match,
Oh,
but
that's what I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
So Nick Gage was in the AEW. I don't know if it was just a one-off, like it was just one match. What do you think the deal is there? Because the wrestling he does, what's his wrestling called? What's that wrestling group called?
I can't remember what the group was. Again, guys, if you don't know who Nick Gage is, check out Dark Side of the Ring. There's a show on him. It's kind of difficult watch because he's one of those hardcore, like, no rules, light bulbs, pizza cutters, barbed wire. Ugh.
But Nick Gage in that group of wrestling there, that's real, isn't it? I mean, they're getting sliced and diced, and
they are, but it's still as choreographed supposedly as anything else.
Oh, so there's still winners and losers. They know who's going to win and lose before they go.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, that changes my question because I was like, why would he agree to go with the?
No. It's not like UFC. It's still, it's wrestling. It's just that type of wrestling.
I didn't know that at that level. I mean, it's like one step up from, backyard wrestling. I didn't realize they were still doing that. I wonder who controls that. That just seems like they seem like a bunch of wild cards out there.
Well, the guy who's the Vince McMahon of that, I'm trying to find where's that? Game Changer Wrestling is what it was. Yeah.
I have a hard time watching those matches. I mean, I don't watch those matches, but like the one with Jericho, it was really interesting because I haven't seen anything like that in mainstream wrestling in a long time or ever. I mean, I've never seen a pizza cutter brought into a ring before. No. And if you guys are wondering and don't know what we're talking about, I had it sent to me on YouTube a couple weeks ago by my kid, and I had not watched AEW, but it was on AEW Dynamite, I believe. Oh, it might be a month ago now, where Chris Jericho is doing this thing where he's running a gambit or a gauntlet or whatever, and he had to fight Nick Gage in a match. In one of these hardcore matches. And it's really something to watch what they'll do, but that's still, Jeff, it's chancy to do that. But they just did the hardcore women's thumbtack match as well. With Dr. Britt Baker and
yes.
Was it Thunder Rosa or who was
something like that? Yes. I saw bits of that. I didn't watch the whole thing. All I did was holy gee. I like that match better than the Nick Gage Jericho one, just because that one just had too much blood for me. There's something about that it just bothers me. It's like this is just kind of gross after a while. Just there are definitely wrestling like Combat Zone Wrestling. I've seen type it in, look at YouTube. The stuff on there is like I don't really want to watch a whole match. I watch it for the curiosity's sake, but it's never gonna. That's not gonna be my cup of tea. But I don't want it friggin' whitewashed like WWE, but I don't want it right off the friggin' wall like CZW or this Game Changer Wrestling. No, it's hard to friggin' watch, but there's a median somewhere, and is AEW finding that median that maybe ECW kind of had back in the day?
I'm fascinated now that was it Chroma Prime brought it to our attention that the people that own the cons that own AEW are just multi-billionaires, because I look at AEW in a different light now. It's like, well, kind of the sky's the limit for them. They got the backing.
Yeah.
So they could make a big push if they wanted to. Oh yeah, I don't remember. As she just mentioned about, and I don't remember this when I was a kid growing up, but there's so many times now, especially with the women's matches, when they get a 2 count instead of a 3, the one that was trying to pin, throws like a tantrum and slams her hand, is like, they're all upset. And it happens every match. I'm like, God, it's kind of annoying after a while.
You are correct. Yep. Agreed, Chrono Prime. The scripted one needs to end. It's because they suck. The friggin' even the Ultimate Warriors ones, which didn't make any sense whatsoever. Jesus, they were entertaining as hell.
That's the thing. It doesn't have to make any sense. I mean,
no.
I don't know. Did Macho Man make sense? I don't know. He was just kind of ranting,
Ooh, yeah. Elizabeth, get over here. No, go away. I got something to say, Mean Gene.
I mean,
that's very true. Chrono Prime, they went public. It changed. That was the start of get off the attitude and get into the PG rated. And they've never really bounced back because they can't be fighting the PTA, was the Parental Television Authority or whatever, like they were all through the 90s. But I think it's just leading to the demise. So again, I'm going to say one more time, Jeff, do you think we're watching a rise of AEW to go to number one, to go above? Do you think the AEW now has a chance at this point to pass the WWE?
I do, if the people running it truly know what they're doing. I think they can, because now we found out they have the financial backing.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of, do they have somebody smart running it? And it seems like they have some wrestlers there who know what they're doing. Jericho, and
who are thinking of the business of thinking of AEW more than thinking about themselves. Like Hulk Hogan, and I like Hulk Hogan. I'm going to tell you right now, I like Hulk Hogan. But Hulk Hogan went into WCW to do whatever he could possibly do to help Hulk Hogan.
Well,
Chris Jericho is going to help AEW. Cody Rhodes is going to help AEW because helping AEW helps them.
With those two wrestlers, it kind of makes me think that they have a chance of taking over, because if you have smart wrestling business guys looking after it,
yeah,
as long as whoever's in charge is listening to them instead of like the bottom line here, I think they could probably make a ton of money by passing up WWE. Of course, then you would think maybe WWE would change if AEW gets bigger and starts passing them up. You would think at some point they'd be like, "Hey, we're losing it here. We got to do something." Which might be the best thing of all. Let AEW take over. Let WWE try to combat it. Change their ways.
It might be best for wrestling fans overall. Like right? That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Create the most entertainment. Look, when was wrestling the best? But when WCW was actually being a challenge to WWE. That was when we lost the jobbers, eh? That was when we lost jobbers. It was when that got heated because they were trying to go head to head, and you couldn't put a jobber match on there, because you put a jobber match on where everybody knows who's going to win, they're going to change the channel.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, like I said, when Max Blue was here in St. Louis, he'd lose every match. I really didn't like watching that, to be honest. I mean, I knew he was going to lose. I don't want to see Ric Flair face Max Blue. I want to see Ric Flair face Kevin Von Erich or David Von Erich.
As long as they can keep that much of a thought in your mind that the jobber might win, it's going to be okay. That's my thought. It never happens, but if you just have that momentary thought that, oh my God, I'm going to see something here.
They should just let him win every so often,
Yeah.
And not a title match, but
have something really weird happen.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just let them win every so often, like I said, that guy in Fuente in the AEW, he's like 2-10 or 19 or something crazy, but at least he's won twice.
Yep.
And I don't know why, but he is like the fans go crazy when this guy comes out.
Yeah,
it's so funny. They just like him, so I guess that's probably why they signed him to a contract.
Well, we've got right now, and like, I do love wrestling, and I do not watch a lot of wrestling right now. I'll watch SummerSlam this weekend, and I'll get in a little stints where I'll want to watch Steve Austin. I want to watch the Broken Skull sessions. That's because he's talking about the stuff that I loved in the past. I really don't give a rat's ass about what happened on Monday Night Raw this week. But when you're looking at AEW right now, first of all, with Chris Jericho doing what he's doing, especially after he had that interview with Austin, fantastic. Cody Rhodes, I got a lot of respect for Cody Rhodes for what he's done and pulled off with his physique. It's his knowledge and his athleticism that's put him where he is. Great. They got some money behind him, which I really didn't know about. But that's good to hear if the right people are spending the money in the right ways. Bringing in great female wrestling. They're trying things that are different, like Jericho versus Nick Gage, whoever would have ever friggin' thunk it. Braun Strowman coming in. Paul White coming in, the Big Show.
Has Strowman officially signed with them?
I don't think so. But there's the non-compete clause, right? Once it runs out, either the WWE is going to sign him right back or he's going. And
I
think
was one rumor that they wanted him back. It's like
they want, yeah, I know. So you never really know. But
like, what are you trying to get him back at a lower cost? I guess.
But that's like freaking kicking the balls. I mean, Braun Strowman's done a lot for that company. He's been one of their top guys for the last and okay, CM Punk is coming in this week. It doesn't get any better than that. And then you throw in Daniel Bryan. And then the potential for friggin' I don't know if Bo Dallas is already there or not. I really don't know. But Bo Dallas has been released now for a couple, 2 or 3 months. And Bray Wyatt, for Christ's sakes, who, forget the Fiend gimmick, whatever. I like Bray Wyatt, like the Sister Abigail back the Southern drawl. That guy was friggin' excellent. With Luke Harper and the other guys. I think Braun Strowman come in with him too. I think he did. But that was an amazing gimmick. Go back to something like that. That is so friggin' much potential. Not only the fact to go along with all the talent that's already there that's less known. And if you can bring in just some different attitudes, like you talked about the using jobbers to a degree, having some records to a degree. And if these guys' egos don't get so big that they got to win every match and be the focus of all the attention and they still divvied up a little bit, you can have a pretty damn strong organization, which I think a lot of true blue wrestling fans are going to want to watch.
Let me ask you, why do you think wrestlers care if they win or lose? Because, I mean, it's all, it's all made, I mean, the decision's made ahead of time, so I'm good. They're getting paid the same. It's not like they're not getting paid the same though. Is the problem? Historically, they've not gotten paid the same. There's still a winner's purse and a loser's purse, and even when it's predetermined, they still do that.
In some cases,
that's weird.
Look at cases like, you watch the Ultimate Warrior, Dark Side of the Ring. They talk about how he refused to lose to different people, and because of his ego. It's his ego. He believes his gimmick. He friggin' there's no bigger friggin' person to get stuck in their gimmick than him. He had to change his goddamn name to Warrior legally because he was friggin' wacko. I mean, I'm sorry. It takes a certain mentality to go into a business like that and have the dedication. And I'm going to say, there's still dedication, the strength to drive yourself to compete at that level. That the ego's got to be there to a degree, but you got to sometimes the intelligence has to overtake the ego to realize what's going to be better in the long run, right?
Yeah, because they all have
true. Some people just they want to protect they don't want to be seen as losers.
Well, I mean, nobody wants to lose a lot, but I mean, they all have to lose in order to make it better.
No, you're absolutely right.
Like I said, none of these people are Andre the Giant. Everybody at some point needs to lose to help bring other people up, and I mean, we've seen it several times. When somebody, if you get beat, I mean, how many times was Randy Orton world champion? I think isn't he over at 10 now or something crazy?
Yeah, it is. But he's lost every one of them, right?
Obviously, he's lost 10 times or whatever.
Cena's 16.
Yeah, and he's he's lost, so he lost that many times as well to give it up. So they all lose. I mean, of course, you want your best guys winning, of course, most of the time.
You should be able to. I think do you remember on one of those episodes? It might have been with The Godfather, which I was so impressed by Charles Wright on that. I thought that was great, where he talked about how certain situations you do more to help yourself by losing than by winning.
And he's not the only one that said that. There's several guys who say that too. That by losing, not only did they get the winner over, they got themselves over eventually because it just helped their career more.
It helped their career because especially if it was in a somewhat of an underhanded way.
Yeah, you always need that tension. If some guy's just always winning, it's not really fun for the fans, really.
No, like I'm sorry, Roman Reigns is the downfall of his career has been the start of his career pretty much lines right up with the downfall of WWE. That's just my opinion. I don't know. So anyway, Big Papa Pete is your hookup. Holla if you hear me.
Big Papa Pete.
Yeah. Big Papa Pump. There's another guy though. He was not Big Papa Pump, right? He was not friggin' a good loser, and he was mixed right in with that bunch in the NWO and all that stuff. And it was just that WCW was a bad mix, and that's the issue that they have to stay away from. And I'll tell you this right now. This is my personal opinion. I believe in my heart that Daniel Bryan and CM Punk will win or lose as is best for the future.
Yeah, I mean, back in the heyday in the 80s and 90s, they all did that for the most part.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be somebody out there who's like, I don't want to lose, but they all took their turns losing when it was appropriate.
You had your Hogans and Warriors and Nashes and Michaels. Shawn Michaels was bad too. And just didn't know that. I don't know.
But it's
you have to stay away from those mentalities.
Half the fun of watching a wrestler you like is after they've lost like a championship. Half the fun is watching them go back and win it from somebody.
Yeah. That is really cool. Why I would really enjoy that. Caper Davey says I enjoy Bruce Pritchard's podcast. I love you, brother love. Bruce Pritchard's podcast, something to wrestle with, looking at old pay-per-views and says what's going on behind the scenes and why it was booked the way it was. So true.
That sounds fascinating.
Yes, so true, because you just don't really know what was going on. That was what I love so much about the Godfather one. I didn't know all that crap was going on. I didn't realize he was so in with all them.
No, I had no idea either. And I never even really watched The Godfather. I didn't care about him, but after watching, I'm like, man, this is pretty fascinating. What was the name of that? Something to Wrestle With?
Something to Wrestle With. Yep. I'm going to check it out. You got it down? You looking for it right now? I'm going to put it down because Caper Dave says it's a good thing to listen to when doing yard work. Right now, I almost always, when I got about an hour of push mowing and about an hour on the ride on when I mow my lawn. And Jesus, it's a summer of hell for lawn mowing because grass, you could hear it growing still in August. But anyway, I always turn on the Intellivisionaries podcast is what I listen to when I'm doing it. So I've listened to them all now about 3 times. So it's time to go find something else. So I'm going to look for something.
I just subscribe to it. Looks like the episodes are all roughly 2 hours long.
Good. That sounds like one good lawn mow then. Hey, we've had this question before, Jeff.
Yeah, we have.
I can't remember what our moves were.
Oh, we had names for him too. What was it?
Yes, we did. I can't remember what the hell it was. Lance, we need you. I have to go back and find it in the old episode, for Pete's sake. We had our final moves, finishers, and everything. I can't remember what the places they were.
Did we have a tag team name too? I can't remember because that'd be a good one to come up with. Oh, so on AEW, Pete.
Yeah.
They've got some good women wrestlers there. You've got Dr. Britt Baker.
Yeah.
Is that her? Yeah. Thunder Rosa, who I was watching for a long time on YouTube on like just local wrestling stuff, and mainly like in the Texas area, but now she's becoming kind of a big star over there. And then you've got someone I mentioned last night when we were talking to Chuck, Jade Cargill, who she's a monster. I mean,
yeah, I think I know what you mean.
I was just watching. She did I was saying I haven't seen her in a while, but I just saw a match she did, and it's so funny. This girl comes running at her, and Jade Cargill like takes a few steps at her, like going after her, just puts her foot up and just kicks her right in the chest, and just sends her to go flying. And that was it for her. And then she did a couple other moves just to finish her off, but I mean, she has the look of a champion, and I think that's a good threesome they got right there for those 3 women wrestlers. If they can add, and there's a couple more there that are really good.
Charlotte Flair to that mix.
Oh, exactly. I'll tell you
what. Do you think if we've talked about the different people coming in and I think they might be good fits. How would Charlotte Flair fit in there? Would Charlotte Flair want to be the winner all the time?
I don't know. I can't imagine so, because hasn't she lost like 7 championships?
Yeah, I really don't know. Like she comes across, people get kind of tired of her, like Roman Reigns, but not in the same way, because she's been in and out and up and down. And
yeah, she loses.
Hey, Chris.
She's part of a wrestling family. She knows the business, so
yeah,
she'd probably be fine with. And plus, you kind of want all your big top stars to be a champion at some point. So they got to lose in order for someone else to win.
I think that a lot of it's building into your buying into your organization and what it's trying to achieve as well. Whereas when you're going into a mega conglomeration like WWE that's been around for 45, or years and longer in different stages, that's one thing. But when you're going in and can be part of an up and coming growing organization like AEW and be very significant in its growth and development, which would be the case, I think you would have a different attitude.
And as long as they're being run correctly, I think that's the attitude the wrestlers will have. And if they're not, then get rid of those wrestlers and bring some others in. Because in the heyday of the WWF, what did all the wrestlers talk about? They were all loyal to the WWF.
That's right.
They wanted what was best for the WWF.
Through the 80s, it was trying to grow it, right?
Whatever was best for the organization ended up being the best for them. They all grew together.
The guy comes in at the very end of the show, and what does he have to say? This is what he has to say. Chris just wrapped up in one sentence, but basically we've been saying for 2 hours.
You're not going to hear any arguments from us, Chris.
I said, Chris, that friggin' Roman Reigns, the beginning of Roman Reigns and the push of Roman Reigns almost lines up perfectly with the decline and fall of the WWE. And they still can't get over him. I hate that I turn on a friggin' pay-per-view, WWE pay-per-view. Oh, Roman Reigns in the main event. Click. I'm done. I get to go to bed early tonight. And it sucks. But oh.
That would be interesting. If Charlotte Flair went to the AEW, that would really be fascinating.
Oh, it would, for sure. That's what we're saying. I just hope Charlotte does if she does go there, if she does what's best for the business, I will say not best for her, because I think that, don't get confused, think that everything to promote Charlotte Flair is best for the business. She could probably do more for herself by building AEW if she went there.
Isn't her husband or boyfriend or fiance in AEW?
Andrade or something like that, his name? I read that.
Isn't he already there?
He's already there. He got released.
Now her dad's headed there?
Now her dad's headed there.
I guess all depends what her contract is.
Closet Roman Reigns fan right there.
Man, that's hurtful.
That's nasty. Although, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of sympathy right there, Jeff. Roman versus The Rock at the next WrestleMania. We don't need to see that. We don't need to see The Rock headline a WrestleMania when he hasn't wrestled, in 3 years, 4 years.
I've been hearing that rumor that he might be coming back. Why would he come back?
I have no idea.
Unless he's just so gung-ho about wanting to wrestle again. He sure doesn't need it. He's gotten way past that.
Sort of related. They are related. They're all cored out of the Inoue family. Yeah. Yeah. Maivia is an Inoue. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's very difficult for them to play the same character. It's just the only way they can sort of play the same character is if they sort of constantly are undergoing a constant metamorphosis with, as things change in the business. And I would say that Chris Jericho has always played the same character, but just like a person changes over the course of a life, his roles has changed over the course of his career. Like, he was the wild, crazy kid, and he sort of got more serious, but he's still always just been Chris Jericho. It's not like he was friggin' Mike Rotunda and then IRS and then or he was Brutus the Barber Beefcake and then the Zodiac and then the Booty Man and it's like, come on. Well, that's crazy. Or even Papa Shango, comma, and then the Godfather, and then the Good Father, and then the Godfather. But anyway, well, guys, we've been 2 hours. This has been a lot of fun.
Wow.
So I think general consensus, Jeff. There's a very good chance. I don't know that the WWE's done. I'm not saying that. I can't say that. But they're definitely in a strong decline.
I don't think they're done. I think the AEW does have a chance to overtake them. But then, like I said, I think they'll just push the WWE to make some changes and make a comeback, because I think they'll go back and forth for a while. No, WWE is not going to just go away. There's no way.
Oh my God! Did you see this latest one? Look.
No, she's wearing a GoGameGo shirt to that wrestling match.
That's right. Don't you forget it. I'll watch the pay-per-view here, and I'll even be wearing a GoGameGo shirt. That's I'll be looking forward to the front row. And
we're going to be in the second row. How about
That's beautiful. That's amazing. That's going to be awesome seats. I can't wait to see that. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining in tonight. It was a real fun chat. Man, I just love wrestling and where it's going. And we get talking last night. We were after Chuck. We were on DJC's channel doing Astro Smash, and then we get talking about this and that, what we're going to do tonight. We just get talking about this stuff. And we said, we could talk about this all friggin' night. DJC couldn't be here with us. He would have been here too, talking, because
I know. He was
this is so cool. Like, I'm kind of excited about AEW because I do love wrestling. I do not like the WWE product as it is today, even though I watch some pay-per-views. I do have the network because I can watch old stuff. But I'm kind of excited to watch AEW. So I guess I'm going to have to stop watching GoGameGo on Wednesday nights and start watching AEW Dynamite. I don't know.
What's going on?
That's what PVRs are for, right? That's what I can watch AEW anytime I want, but I'm going to have to watch it some other time. But I am going to start watching it for sure, because I think there's a lot of potential there to be some good old style non-PG wrestling, especially after seeing Nick Gage cut him over with a pizza cutter. Anyway, they don't care what they're going to do, being the point. Not that I necessarily want to see that stuff every time. I don't. But I want a little bit less sanitization and a little bit more surprise and interesting storylines. Sound good?
I agree.
What do you got tomorrow night? Big show on GoGameGo tomorrow night, guys. Everybody's got to tune in.
We're going to be talking some Amico stuff because my family, not me, my wife, or my kids, but the rest of my family, we're on vacation in the LA area. Called up Tommy Tallarico, asked if they could stop by and play the Amico, and he said sure. It's just crazy how accessible he is. It's amazing. So they went there. They got to play the Amico, and a bunch of them are going to be on the show tomorrow to talk about it, which is cool.
That is really cool.
So I'm going to be the last member of the family to play the Amico.
As you and I are like the last member of the group. Everybody's gotten to go somewhere to play it. You, me, and OEBP.
Yeah.
Are the only three who haven't played the friggin' Amico yet. Everybody else has gone to Texas or Pennsylvania or LA or whatever and played it.
It wouldn't shock me if, no, shoot. I guess it really can happen. I was going to say because you guys are in Canada, like I was thinking, well, if they went to Seattle, Pete's in Vancouver, you can just make it easy, but you can't really cross the border yet though, right?
As of right now, you can come this way. We cannot go that way yet.
Oh, interesting. Why is that? Shouldn't it be the same both directions?
Well, you would think so, but that's not the way it's happened. Your government seems to be more interested in other things right at the moment, wrapped up, than worrying about this stuff.
Oh, man.
Anyway, thanks again for joining us, guys. 2 weeks' time, we'll be back with another episode of Wrestling, Video Games, and Retro Adventures. I'm quite sure we're back 2 weeks. Vacations are pretty much done for the time being. Next week, I'll probably stream something, probably from the Intellivision, probably another. I'm going to give another shot at another homebrew game. I've got a couple to play. I've got a couple that I have to do or want to do for the Inti Homebrew Showcase. A couple of ROMs that I picked up, and I might play one of them next week or maybe a couple different ones, and that'll be fun. Again, GoGameGo tomorrow night. Join in. That's going to be really interesting to hear what they have to say about their visit to Intellivision Productions, to the Intellivision Entertainment, the headquarters. So,
and I haven't really talked to them about it, other than they just told me that everyone in Intellivision was really great with them. They're really, really nice.
Right.
I haven't asked them about the games, the controller, or anything yet. So I'll be interested to see how everybody liked it.
That is awesome. All right, so I think I'm going to play. If anybody wants to stick around just to see my last little, I'm going to play the clip that I got of not. We're talking about Nick Gage a lot, so I got a little clip there of Nick Gage that's going to play after the trailer. So I'm going to play that. Then we're going to sign off. So take care, guys. We will see you in a couple weeks. And if I got to find that, here it goes.
And also, I want to promote your YouTube channel, Papa Pete, the old guy gamer. Okay? I'm Nick fucking Gage, and you're watching Papa Pete, MDK all fucking day.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer.